If Ukraine were to win the war in Russia, what would that actually look like? Obviously, it would mean that Ukraine has defeated the Russian army and taken back all of its territory, including Crimea. But it's not so simple because there are two other possibilities that could also be true. And these are the two things that we should really be focusing on. Possibility no. One is that the West would force Russia to demilitarize. That means that Ukraine would get everything it wants: Crimea, the Donbas, and all of the territory lost since the invasion. This scenario seems highly unlikely, though, because Putin will never allow for this to happen. He will fight to his last man, to his last woman, and to his last dollar before he lets Ukraine take back Crimea. It's just as symbolic of a place for him to ever accept that. The more likely possibility is that Ukraine will take back all of its territory, but Russia will keep Crimea. In this scenario, Putin gets to save face by keeping the territories he originally invaded, and Ukraine gets to be whole again, at least territorially. Now, there might be some caveats to this. For example, Ukraine might have to give up some territory in the Donbas to the separatists. But overall, this would be a good outcome for Ukraine. They would have their country back, and Russia would be severely weakened as a power. In fact, if we're honest, even the first scenario, where Ukraine takes all of its territory and Russia loses all of its gains, would be a good outcome for Ukraine. It would be an incredible thing to celebrate. But realistically, Ukraine knows that they can't take Crimea by force. There's just no way. They can try, they can attempt it, but they know that they'll most likely fail. So what they need to do is focus on the Donbas and focus on taking back as much of that territory as possible. Then they need to play the waiting game with Crimea, knowing that eventually Putin will have to give it up. But while Ukraine is focused on the Donbas, Russia is going to be focusing on taking the rest of Ukraine. That's why it's so important for Ukraine to make every single day count, to make every single week count. They need to exhaust Russia as much as possible so that when they do take Crimea, they'll be able to do it without too much fighting. But let me know what you think. Is Ukraine winning the war even possible? And if it is, how would that look like? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.